The whole thing about games costing $100 has gone viral again lately, especially with all the talk about GTA 6. The question is, will this be the turning point where every game starts costing $100? Will they dare to raise the price standard again? What's weird to me is how they made such a massive jump, from 80 to 100 just like that. They didn't even stop at 90, kinda like what Windows did when they skipped 9 and went straight to 10. Super weird, right? The logical move would have been to increase it little by little, so it wouldn't hurt as much. But no, straight to it. Boom, 20 bucks more, just like that. This isn't new though. This has been floating around for a while. I don't get why it suddenly went viral again now. We've talked about this before, but here we are again, back at the $100 debate. I don't know if there was some important statement or what, but we're right back at it. But yeah, this was already discussed a while ago. In fact, Capcom's CEO said it back in 2023. The guy came out and said something like, "I think game prices are too low." According to him, each title should cost 100 bucks. That's why I say this isn't new. This has been around for a while. We've talked about it many times. But whatever, here we are again. Their argument is that development costs are now 100 times higher than they were during the NES era, and according to Sugimoto, that justifies each game costing $100. And here's where I say, who the hell asked you for that? Like, no one forced you to make development 100 times more expensive. Who threw you into that mess? Because I sure didn't ask for anything, and now you expect me to pay the price. Bro, are you dumb or what's your deal, Capcom? Okay, but let's go back to the main point of this whole discussion. GTA. That brings us to Take-Two's CEO, this Strauss guy, who also said that video games are too cheap. He claims that game prices are too low, and that can't be. According to him, by their standard, their prices are way too low because they offer so many hours of entertainment. That was another one of their points. Strauss thinks long games should cost more because it doesn't make sense for a game like GTA, which gives you 100 hours of gameplay, to cost the same as a 15-hour game. Like, as if we should now start valuing games based on, this game cost me X dollars and lasted 3 hours, so it's not worth it. Or, this other one cost me $60 and each hour was only $4. What a deal. What is this, renting games by the hour? So following that logic, how much should Civilization or Paradox games cost? 800 bucks, because a single random match in those can easily last 50 hours, and that's not even counting hardcore gaming sessions. If we go down that road, a lot of people are going to have to sell a kidney just to buy a damn game. So yeah, as I was saying, this debate isn't new. Back when Microsoft was trying to buy Activision Blizzard, some emails from our buddy Phil Spencer got. By the way, that guy always looks like he's being photographed on purpose with the worst expression, like he's about to screw you over but in a friendly. Anyway, in one of those emails, Phil mentioned that the AAA model was in danger, and he's not the only. The former PlayStation CEO also said that the industry has a serious problem with modern day AAA games, and that the solution would be to make them shorter and cut down on photorealism. Putting all this together, the conclusion is pretty clear. Development costs have skyrocketed. Making massive games costs more. Games are now at a point where either prices go up or they find another way to be profitable. And basically, they want to push the price increase no matter what, either by making games more expensive or by cutting them. And this is where the real issue comes in. If prices don't, it's not worth it for them to make such big, massive, photorealistic, magical games, etc. We really should think of them. This is exactly what Phil Spencer and company were talking. They said that because of the insanely high development costs, companies are taking fewer risks with new IPs. And, of course, how can they take risks when making these games costs and they're only selling them for 80 bucks? Instead of betting on new IPs, they churn out sequels, remakes, whatever it takes to cut costs. Because if the game doesn't sell well, it's a total failure and not profitable. And basically, they're going to keep selling us the same thing. And once again, who the hell asked for this? That's the key question. Who asked for games to last 8,000 billion hours? I have a theory, and Miami confirmed it for me. So it's practically a universe. Since generational leaps are becoming less notable, especially in graphics and mechanics, what do companies do to make people feel like this is the ultimate sequel? They just make the biggest map in the series far. This has more on the map. This has more content. More. It's like they just slap an X2 multiplier on everything and boom, sequel. And once you enter that, there's no turning back. Every damn game in every series has to be bigger than the last one because it wouldn't make sense to sell it as a sequel. So yeah, they're trapped in. If visually there's no major jump and mechanically there isn't either, what? Because between PS4 and PS games, There's really no gameplay mechanic that makes you go, this was impossible. At most, you notice better visuals, ray tracing, better shadows, more particles, all that but mechanically, wouldn't Starfield run on a PS4 or an Xbox One if you load the graphics? Because are you seriously telling me the only thing stopping that game from running on older consoles is the graphics? And this applies to almost every game. There's no major mechanical innovation because there's no hardware limitation. Before, there were technical restrictions that shaped game design. For example, back in the day, Final Fantasy had turn-based combat, not purely as an art choice, but because technology didn't allow. But now that limitation's gone. So since there's no technical ceiling to break, what do? Just scale everything up. X2, X3, X4, bigger, more open, more filler. And now they're stuck in this spiralism. The problem is they want me to foot the bill for this mess. I don't want to pay for your excesses. I don't want to pay for your X2, X3, and X4 just because you felt like it. I don't want to pay $100 for a damn game. And that's where Nintendo comes in, the exception to the rule. Now, how true is that claim from CEOs and other industry gurus saying that development costs have gone up, but game prices, thanks to inflation, games have actually gone in price? So there's a guy who made a comparison of the average game price generation, and the easiest way to do it is with PlayStation, because Sony doesn't complicate things. So yeah, they've gone up, but not at the same rate as inflation. In fact, I already have games at $80. I don't know how they did, but there they are. And if we asked for inflation, the theoretical price would be $84.99. Okay, that's the theory. On paper, it might make sense and might even valid to some extent the whiny CEO's argument that get too cheap. Because sure, if you look at the numbers, prices have risen with inflation. Theoretically, a game should already cost around $100. Because the price of games isn't just what we pay at the store, they've also been cutting costs on what you get. Before, when you bought a game, you got a cartridge, and producing a cartridge was really expensive. Then they switched to CDs, which are infinitely manufactured. And what did they do? Nothing. No, they kept it. Because the price of games did a single cent. On the contrary, it either stayed the same or went up, even though it costs them to produce. The difference in cost between a cart CD is huge, but the final price stayed the same or got higher. So don't come at me with that games being too cheap. It's not that they're cheap. They've been dipping into our wallets for decades, and now they want us to pay for the whole party. But on top of that, they also started cutting down the physical editions. Before bought a physical game, at the very least it came with a manual. And not just any manual, a thick one, packed with art, explain stuff. Sometimes they'd even throw in a map, stickers, any extra that added value to the product. And what happened? They trimmed and trimmed. Until these days, you open a box and all you get is air and a sad disc. And here's the best part. When they got rid of the manual, they cut all that content. They didn't lower the price of even by a cent. It's not like they said, hey, now the game costs less, reduced costs. No. They swallowed it. It was another cut to reduce costs without us getting any benefit. But wait, there's more. Then came digital format. And that really exposed them, because digital is what sells the most nowadays. It's the main form that yields the most profit. They no longer spend on distributors, on making discs, on printing covers, or on ship boxes to stores, nothing. And what did they do with all that money? Exactly, nothing. Game prices stayed the same or went higher. The only thing they did was pocket a bigger slice. Plus, in digital, they only pay 30% to Steam or whichever store. They get the rest directly. And they still have the nerve games are too cheap. Before, with physical copies, profit among more parties. Between distributors, stores, and so on, pocketed less per sale. Now, with digital, they make a lot more. Each digital sale puts more money in their pocket because they no longer spend on manufacturing discs or on distribution or stores. Nothing. But margin is way higher. That's why saying games are too cheap is a shameless lie, because they've already slashed tons of costs within the game's own price. And let's not even count DLCs or skins or content they sell you separately. Ignoring all that, just with base price, they've trimmed a bunch, and the game's price, far from staying, has been going up, but expense of giving you less. It's like that typical dude who says, no, gas hasn't gone up because I always put in 20 euros for years. Yeah, genius, you're still paying the same, but now you're getting fewer liters. It's the same with games. You go and keep paying the same amount, but if they cut content, If they give you less for the same price, they're effectively charging you more. So I'm not buying the whole inflation argument that cheap. It's total bullshit. I don't buy it, I don't accept it, and I won't just, I'm sorry, but it just doesn't fly. iFixstar and Capcom don't give it at all. For them, the point is that cost of making games has gone way up compared to what it took to make it. And that's true. It's gone up way more than inflation. And all the nonsense they're feeding us, making a game today is much more expensive. Sure, I'll buy that, but it's also their fault. I mean, did anyone ask them to make games that last 200 hours? Did anyone demand that each double the size of the previous one? Who told them every has to be bigger, more detailed, and have more points of interest? Nobody. They did that because they wanted to. They jumped on the bigger is better bandwagon, and now they're drowning in their own trap. And since now it's not profitable for them, they want us to pay. Well, no, bro. If you did because you felt like it, don't expect me to foot the... So yeah, swallow it yourself, Al. You deal with it, you smoke it, you digest it. If you got yourself into that mess, don't pin it on me. But obviously, it doesn't matter what we say because they're not going to listen. So the question is, what do you guys think? Because here's the key. All the companies hiding behind a bush, Rockstar, watching to see what they'll do. They're crouched down, waiting for the right moment, because if Rockstar put out a bare bones GTA 6 at $100, they'll all come out like rats to do the same. That'd be the starting gun. It always this. When one to take the first step, the rest follow. The first one takes the heat. Since it's Rockstar and GTA, we'll let them, because it's GTA. Wow, Jix, amazing. What a masterpiece. What a revolution. And when we realized we'll be paying $100 for any old crap. I don't know. I think it's crazy. It's way too much money, man. Paying $100 for a game is insane. I mean, there's the psychological line where you say, this is just too much. Because €1 for a single game, massive leap. And it's not just that. The cost of consoles, online subscriptions, DLCs, special editions, skins. Bro, what the hell is this? If this keeps up, you'll literally game every 3 years. It's crazy. And I want to believe this one, that GTA 6 went out at $100. But I wouldn't be surprised because they're already selling early access 2 or 3 in advance for $100 or $120. So if Rockstar launches GTA 6 at €100, it wouldn't be that shocking. In fact, I fully expect it. Anyway, that's the thing. Apparently, the industry is in crisis, right? Let's cut. Though, honestly, I don't see it as that bad. What's definitely true is that fewer people are playing new games nowadays. Why? Well, because games are ridiculously expensive, people have a massive backlog, and frankly, there are way too many releases to play them all at launch. So what do most people do? They play what they've already got lined up, which can often get cheaper in Steam sales, console sales, whatever. And faced with this scenario, their brilliant solution is to raise the price of new games even more. To $100? Seriously, in what world do they think we live? Because most people don't buy games at launch. Most buy 1 or 2 new games a year. And many don't even do that. What people really buy are discounted games, sales, bundles, whatever. So if they think the solution to fewer buying new games is to jack up the price even higher, they just don't get it. It's not rare or unusual. It's simply what most people do. Statistically, most people don't buy games at launch. And I think this is only going to get worse. Because $100 for a game, this hobby is becoming a giant rip. And what blows my mind is that this only happens in gaming. I get that making a video game is crazy expensive, probably more expensive than making a movie. I also get that video games aren't as mainstream as cinema, because everyone goes to your mom, your dad, your aunt, your neighbor. But imagine if going to the movies cost $50 a ticket. I think the same number of people keep going. Not a chance. Tickets have already gone up, and we can see fewer people are going. If they hit $50, physical movie theaters die in 2 days. Now imagine Rockstar, just out of nowhere, smashing all rumors and releasing GTA 6 at $50 right from the start. Like, the world would explode. People would buy 2 copies just to support them. But of course, that's definitely not happening. What could happen is this. They release GTA 6 on console at $80. Online mode separately for $30 to $40. The PC version comes later and all $80. So basically the same old story, worse. And a few months, as a big innovation, they'll add a first-person mode so you steering wheel in detail, and they'll charge you $80 again for that. That's the most likely route I see for Rockstar. I don't think they'll jump straight to $100, but I can totally see them selling the online separately. I can sign because it's exactly what they would. Something like, if you have the base game, you can buy online for $15. If you just want online, they'll sell it to you for $30. If you everything together, $100 in total. So, what do you guys think? If they release it at $8, what do we do? Just give them 20 out of goodwill. It's a shark mentality. A super game at 80 plus multiplayer at 30. But let's not front detail. They're going to sell multiplayer as a separate game. So in the end, there you go. 80 plus 20 equals 100 bucks. And on top of that, the multiplayer will require the base game to work. So one way or another, they'll squeeze out whatever price they want. I won't separate it. I mean, sure, sell separately would be a bit suicide because it'd lose a lot of people. But let's not kid ourselves. GTA 6 at launch is going to sell like crazy. That's a fact. So what would they do? Well, from a business standpoint, it's most logical to sell it all together from the start. If they separate it, they lose of it being the best-selling game non-stop. Look at GTA 5. It's always in the top 1 or top sales year after year because people keep buying it as a single product. If they had separated it, have 2 different games with separate sales, and that's where they'd lose that marketing punch. Everything comes in one package. GTA 6 will stay at the top of the forever, like GTA 5 did. If they split it, they lose that effect, and the promotion isn't as strong. So they'll probably release it all together at first, and then once they've milked it enough, they'll sell you the online separately.